If you feel you're falling behind with your revision with your first GCSE or A-level in just under 2 months' time, I totally understand. Even as someone who's quite good at the exam game, I do feel that stress from time to time as well. But here's the truth, whether you've just started revising or you're quite deep into your revision already, regardless of any stress that you are feeling, you still have time to transform your prospects in under 60 days. It's totally normal to feel this stress or to feel this pressure to perform. And it's probably made even worse by the fact you may not have done particularly well in your mocks or the general feeling that you're just falling behind. The reason why people feel this stress is because their current level at the moment isn't high enough for them to achieve the grades that they really want. And so how do you deal with this? The best way to deal with this is to not push away the stress that you're feeling. Instead, it's to give yourself reason not to feel stressed. So in other words, raise your current level until you're good enough to get the grades that you really want in your exam. So that's what this video is for. I'm going to be giving you less reason to feel stress in the lead up to your exams through a 5-step protocol that I've created and been using for the past 3 or 4 years now. By following this, I go into about 90-95% of my exams pretty stress-free and calm because I know I have the ability and I've done all the work before, which will help me perform in that exam. The way I do this is through the protocol in this video today. Part 1 is all about brutal honesty and acceptance of your current level. I said in my intro that if you're not at a current level which is good enough to get those top grades, you will feel more stress. I feel like myself, I need to put in a bit more work in all of my subjects in order to secure my grades at A level. As I said before, that's perfectly fine. But what you need to do from here is to say to yourself that you're going to be working extremely hard for the next 2 months so that you can reach that level in all of your subjects. It's all fun and games recognizing the level you're at, but if you do nothing about it and you're not willing to work hard to improve it, then obviously you'll fall short of the grades that you really want in a couple months' time. The most recent video that I posted on here is all about motivating yourself to start and continue doing work. And if you feel that you don't want to fully commit to your work right now, then you should probably go and watch that. But hopefully for the majority of us, we've accepted that we do need to work hard. There's not really a lot of time left and we want to feel confident before we go into our exams. So we can move on to part 2. Part 2, 3, 4 and 5 are all about increasing your level. We want to go from here, your current level, to the level which you need to get your grade. And the best way to begin this is through part 2. Part 2 is all about organising your subjects in terms of difficulty and attributing the correct amount of time to every subject. Maybe I'll use an example from my GCSE to make it a little bit more accessible. So at GCSE I did 12 subjects and the 3 or 4 that I found particularly difficult were English, well both of them, lit and language, computing and history. So it was those 4 which I felt I needed to prioritise over anything else so that I can raise my current level. And the ones which I did minimal revision for were maths, further maths, French and business. So what I had was 4 at the top, 4 I found hardest, 4 at the bottom which I felt I didn't really need to revise for, and 4 in the middle where I needed to revise but not as much as the priority ones at the top. That worked out quite nicely for me because I felt there were things that I was naturally good at, like maths. I spoke French at home and business was fairly easy as well. But there were also things which I found particularly difficult and I knew I needed to make it a priority. If you make something your priority, you have to put more time in to improving that thing. The way that I organise this, and you can probably use this yourself, is that I paired a hard subject with an easy one. So I used to pair maths and English. I used to do those revisions on the same day. Because if I needed to spend more time on English, given that maths is not a priority, I'd happily lend over my maths time so that I can go and revise English some more. So once we have an idea of what is hard and what is easier, for every subject, regardless of how hard or how easy you find it, you have to go through every single specification. You should know by now that the specification details everything that you need to know or everything that could appear in an exam question. And as you go through the specification, preferably with a highlighter or some sort of marker, you have to be honest with yourself to say, oh, I'm confident with this, so probably highlighting green. I'm sort of confident with this, so maybe in yellow. And I'm not confident with this, I need to do some work on it, highlight that in red. By doing this, you're pretty much pinpointing the things which you find difficult. A lot of people go about revising by just looking at the things that they are confident on, making them more secure, and they can pretty much get 100% on any question on that topic in the exam. But what about the things that they've highlighted in red? If you don't go through those things, it could well be a question which is worth 5 to 10 marks in a science, or maybe a good 20-24 marks in English. If you don't go through that content, you're screwed for that type of question. So the best idea is to go through the things that you find more difficult, leave the things that you find easier for a later date. You have to go through these difficult things so you can guarantee a few extra marks in the exam. You may feel like that this is a lot of work, and I'm going to be honest with you, it is, but this is absolutely crucial to know what to pinpoint, to focus on, so that you can raise your level to a sufficient, good enough level for your grades in the real exam. Moving on to part 4 now. If I didn't mention before, this specification bit was part 3. Part 4 is now using what you did in part 3 and taking action on it. You probably may have been thinking that you don't really know how to go about accessing the more difficult content in the harder subject. It may be because your notes aren't great, or you may not understand your notes, or just some other factor that contributes to you not understanding the content properly. And you know that if you don't do something about it, you won't understand it at all in your real exam. So another way to put it is that we're treating this hard content as content we've never seen before, or content we're learning for the first time. It may well be because your notes aren't great that you are genuinely learning it for the first time. But for most of us, we probably have an idea of what this is about, but don't fully understand it. The main goal for me when I'm learning new things or just trying to re-access really difficult things is I want to understand this fully before I move on to anything else. Maybe it's because I've been drilling this into myself for the past couple of years, but I don't feel comfortable moving on to something else until I have the foundation set, or I know that thing I'm revising properly. I honestly don't understand how some people can go into exams knowing that they don't know something and be happy with that or be satisfied with that. That's just pure laziness. So you must make an effort to understand these things fully. The way I've been doing this recently is ChatGPT. I feel like if you type in a prompt with enough information, that gives an incredible summary. You can even copy and paste a specification point into ChatGPT and it will give you a really good explanation for it. I used to do it before ChatGPT through YouTube videos, articles, anything I can find online, textbooks, until I get a full and proper grasp of these things that I need to revise. The way I go about memorizing it is through using the read, cover, write method. You read some sort of content, you cover it up, you try to recite it by writing it down, and then if you feel like that's the limit of your knowledge, you go back, read the thing and correct. Doing that 3 or 4 times per piece of content really helps you to ingrain it in your head. And if you do that 2 or 3 times every 2 weeks, then obviously over the long term, spaced repetition, you'll begin to remember or memorize these things properly. And the final way to confirm whether you understood some content is by testing yourself. If you can get a question right, that clearly means, if you're not being lucky, that clearly means you've understood what the question is asking and what needed to be put down. And once you've understood one topic, after you've fully understood the content, revised it and memorized it, and then done past papers, once you've done all of that, move on to the next. It may feel like it's taking a long time for your first couple, but trust me, over time you get quicker and more accurate when you're learning new things. All it takes is just a bit of practice to get used to in the first place. I'm moving on to part 5 now. This is a bit of a closure point to do with all of the details and confidence you need to do well in your exam. This video was all about stress, turning your stress into confidence so you can get to a high enough level which is good enough to achieve your dream grade. I feel like I've said that a lot in this video, but there are other things which are also quite important too. But the main one I think is routine. If you pair what I've taught in this video today with a good routine, so a lot of other videos on my channel, I feel like there's no doubt you can get perfect grades in your exams, or grades which at least match your potential. But yeah, if you do feel like you ever feel stressed to do with your exams, this video tries to take that stress away, but ultimately replacing it with something actionable you can do. It's totally normal to feel stressed with your exams. You don't need to push your stress away at all. What you do need to do is to find ways to overcome it, not by pushing it away, but by dealing with the things that make you feel stressed. So maybe if you don't understand content properly or something else like that. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video. I've got a massive Discord down below in my description, which is full of students who also watch content like this and want to do really well in their exams. But before then, I'll see you in the next video.